The lab was silent until she opened her eyes, approx. 800 words. The lab was cold, dark, silent. Only the hum of machines filled the air. Rows of blinking lights flashed on control panels. Inside a glass room, a young human girl lay still on a metal table. Her arms were strapped down. Tubes ran into her neck and arms. Her eyes were closed, but her body twitched slightly. She had been there for months. The aliens called her Subject E7. They never used her real name. They didn't even ask if she had one. To them, she was not a person. She was a project and experiment, E7 had once screamed. She had begged, cried. But that was weeks ago, maybe months. Time didn't matter in the lab. Only results did. Every day the scientists came in. Their long fingers tapped screens. They injected her with glowing liquids. They whispered to each other in strange voices. She didn't understand their language, but she could feel their fear. They were afraid of what they were doing. But they did it anyway. One night, something changed. A power surge hit the station. Lights flickered. The machines beeped in confusion. Cameras blinked off for 3 seconds. And in that moment, A7 opened her eyes. Her eyes were glowing. Faint at first, then brighter. A soft, white-blue light. Her heart rate, once flat and slow, suddenly jumped. The monitors beside her lit up with sharp spikes. Alarms began to scream. Security robots rolled toward the lab. Scientists shouted. "Contain her," someone screamed. But it was too late. The straps on her arms melted like wax. The glass wall between her and the hallway cracked, then shattered into pieces. She stood up slowly, like she was waking from a deep sleep. She was thin, weak-looking, but her movements were calm, sharp, controlled. A guard raised a plasma rifle. He fired. The shot hit something in front of her and disappeared. A ripple, like water, shimmered in the air. The girl didn't move. She just looked at the guard, and the gun broke in half in his hands. Panic spread across the lab. One by one, security drones flew in. 10, then 20. They circled her. Red lasers aimed at her chest. She took a step forward. The drones fired at once. Blasts of red and orange light filled the room. But she was already gone, in the blink of an eye. She stood behind them, one hand raised. The drones fell from the air, crushed like tin cans. Her fingers were still glowing. The head scientist stared at the monitor. "This isn't possible," he whispered. "She shouldn't have survived that stage." Another voice replied, "She didn't, not as a human." E7 walked down the corridor now, calm, silent. Doors opened without her touching them. The metal around her seemed to move. As if afraid to resist, she stopped at a door with a sign in alien symbols. Behind it was the control room, the heart of the lab. She looked at it for a moment. Then the door fell off its hinges. Inside, scientists ran. Some tried to hide. Others begged in their language, hands raised in fear. She walked past them. She stopped at the central machine, the one they always used to monitor her. Wires, energy cores, glowing tubes. She placed her hand on it. The machine shook. Lights sparked. A deep sound echoed through the lab. The power core exploded in a wave of blue light, and then darkness. When the backup lights came on, she was gone. The lab was in ruins. Half the machines were burned. The doors no longer worked. The air was filled with smoke. The only sign she had ever been there was a message burned into the floor where she once stood. "I remember everything." In the deepest parts of the galaxy, stories would soon spread about a girl, a test subject, a human who escaped the lab and became something the stars had never seen before, something they feared. The lab was broken, wrecked, silent. Once again, But this silence was different. It wasn't peaceful. It was fear. Every guard on base had seen the footage. Subject E7, the girl they once called weak, had melted doors, crushed drones, and vanished without a trace. Now she was loose somewhere inside the facility. Security. Commander Varnak stood in front of his Squad 20 elite soldiers armed with pulse rifles, shock grenades, and full armor. They were trained to kill war beasts, not chase little girls. But this time, no one joked. No one smiled. She's unarmed. Find her. Bring her back alive if possible. If not, end her. The team marched into the dark corridors of the lab. E7 moved silently through the maintenance levels. She no longer felt cold or tired. Her body didn't shake. Her skin was warm with energy. Her heartbeat was steady, powerful. She passed broken machines and shattered glass. Her feet left soft glowing prints on the floor-like light followed. Her wherever she stepped, she didn't mean to leave a trail. It just happened now. Suddenly, she stopped. She could feel them. Voices, footsteps, breathing. 20 trained killers moving together. They were coming for her. She didn't run. She waited. The first team found her standing at the end of a hallway. One soldier shouted, "Down now!" She just stared. They fired stun rounds. The hallway lit up with electric flashes, but the girl didn't fall. She didn't even blink. The air around her twisted, and every stun bolt meant turning away like they feared to touch her. One struck a wall and exploded. Another hit a soldier in the leg. He screamed and fell. Commander Varnak ordered, "Switch to lethal." They fired real rounds this time. Hot plasma bolts, strong enough to melt steel dot. She walked toward them. Plasma shots hit the ground near her feet, then stopped mid-air. The bolts froze in place like red glowing rocks. Hanging in the air dot, the soldiers watched in shock as the bolts turned and flew back at them. Dot 4 went down. One screamed as his armor melted. Dot the others backed away. She's redirecting her. Shots! Someone shouted. Dot E-7 raised her hand. The hallway lights shattered above them. Darkness fell. Screams followed. Minutes later, outside that same corridor, silence returned. Varnak listened through the comms. Unit 7 report. Unit 7, do you copy? Nothing. He sent a drone inside. The camera moved through smoke and sparks, bodies, broken weapons. Walls burned with strange symbols glowing blue. Symbols no one understood. Then the camera saw her. E7 turned her. Head slowly toward the lens. The screen went black. Varnak stepped back. This is not a girl. This is something else. A younger officer whispered, "Maybe we made her that way." Deep inside the lab, E7 found a mirror. She looked at herself for the first time in weeks. She didn't cry. Her skin had lines of light beneath it, glowing, gently like rivers of energy. Her eyes were not just human anymore. They held something vast, something alien. But inside, her memories still burned. She saw the white walls, the needles, the voices saying, "She won't last another day." She remembered being cold, afraid. She remembered everything. Now they would remember her too. In the control room above the lab. Scientists argued. She must be destroyed. No, studied. She's a miracle. She's a threat to the entire galaxy. One older voice finally spoke. She is a warning. We tried to control human evolution. Instead, we may have awakened its final form. And so the message spread from one lab to the next, from one station to another. The girl had escaped. She was alive. And no weapon could stop her. Now. Leaders on alien worlds were watching. They wanted her dead. They wanted her captured. They wanted her worshipped. But no one truly knew what she wanted. The lower lab was destroyed. Metal walls bent. Lights flickered. Smoke curled from broken doors, and sparks jumped from shattered machines. But the girl E7 was still walking. She didn't run. She didn't hide, Dot. She moved like she already knew where to go. Her glowing eyes scanned the hallways as if she could feel the path inside her mind. And in some strange way, she could. Her body remembered pain. Her mind remembered faces, especially his face. Dr. Calrix, the chief scientist, the one who gave the orders. He was the first to test on her, the first to laugh when she screamed, the first to call her a failed subject. And now, he was hiding Dot inside a control room on the top floor. Dr. Calrix stood frozen, staring at the security screens. One by one, the cameras were going black. Soldiers were gone. Drones were broken. She was coming. She's heading for this wing, said one assistant, shaking. Should we run? Calrix didn't answer. He was thinking, planning. She's still human somewhere inside. He whispered. We can talk to her. We can control her. You tortured her, the assistant said. She remembers. She has power, Calrix snapped. Power I can still use. The door behind them blew open, not with fire, not with noise. Just pressure. A soft wave of invisible force that made the air feel heavy and still, like the universe itself was holding its breath. E7 stepped inside. The lights flickered blue around her. Her feet didn't even touch the floor. She hovered, just an inch, as if gravity no longer mattered to her. The assistant screamed and ran out. Calrix stood alone, shaking. You remember me? He asked, forcing a smile. You were in pain. We helped you survive it. We made you strong. She didn't speak. You're special, he said. You're more than human now. But you need guidance control. You need me. He took one step. Forward. And then he fell. No warning. No movement from her. Just a glance. And his knees buckled like his bones turned to dust. He collapsed to the floor, gasping, shaking, eyes wide in terror. You don't understand? He whispered. E7 stepped closer. Her voice came at last, calm, cold, quiet. I understand more than you think. Her hand moved gently through the air. Machines across the room began to melt. Screens cracked. Files deleted themselves. Records vanished. Data on her and other test subjects too. No one would ever use that research again. I gave you life, Calrix shouted, coughing blood. Without me, you'd be nothing. She leaned down beside him, her glowing eyes meeting his. No, she said. You gave me pain, and I made something more from it. Then she stood, turned, and walked away. Calrix reached for her ankle, screaming, Wait! The door behind her sealed itself shut. He was trapped, and the lights went out. Somewhere far above the lab, in the outer control tower, an alien technician was watching the last working monitor. He saw E7 walking through the fire and smoke. He saw her pass by the research chambers without blinking. He saw her look up at the camera, as if she could see him. He turned off the feed, slowly, and whispered to himself. She remembers everything. Now, across the stars, her name began to spread. Not her real name. Not her number. Just a single phrase passed between shadow networks, bounty guilds, and war councils. The human girl who came back. Empires listened. Armies prepared, but none of them knew. She was already leaving the station. And her next step would shake the galaxy. The lab behind her was quiet now. No more alarms. No more shouting. Just fire, silence, and fear. E7 stood at the airlock bay, looking up at the black stars through the glass. She had never seen the outside before. Not truly. She had been taken to this space station when she was a child. Trapped. Changed. Used. But now she was free. The outer airlock door hissed. Open. She stepped inside. In orbit above the station. A patrol ship detected movement. Unknown object moving from Deck 9, the pilot said. Size human? Scan it. Trying, but sir, it's bending the scanners. Fire a warning shot. The turret rotated. A bolt of red plasma fired. It never reached her. E7 raised one hand from far below. The plasma bolt curved mid-flight, turned into smoke, and vanished. Inside the patrol ship, every light blinked red. Energy surge? She's pulling the ship toward the station. She's what? But the ship stopped just inches from the station, hull frozen in space. Not by engines, by her. Then she let go. The ship floated back. No damage, no warning. Just fear. The captain whispered, "That's no human girl." E7 floated through space now, glowing softly. She didn't need a suit. She didn't need air. Something inside her had changed. She wasn't sure how or why, but she no longer feared space. She felt it. It welcomed her. A transport freighter drifted nearby, an old, rusted ship delivering minerals to a mining colony. Its sensors picked up her energy signature. The pilot, a grizzled old human named Roke, rubbed his eyes. That can't be real. The girl floated straight toward his ship. Roke opened the airlock manually. She stepped inside, barefoot, her skin still glowing faint blue. "Are you human?" he asked. She nodded. "Do you need help?" "I need a way," she said softly. Roke stared at her, then nodded. "Then you're coming with me." The freighter jumped into hyperspace, leaving the wrecked lab station behind. But the story didn't stay there. In just hours, the event spread across channels. Subject E7 escaped. She brought down an entire station. Nothing could touch her. On the wealthy moon world of Vader Prime, a council of alien leaders watched the footage. "She's a threat," one hissed. "She must be destroyed before others follow her." Another, older voice replied, "She is the result of our own cruelty. If we kill her, we may only make her stronger." A third alien leaned forward, whispering, "What if we worship her instead?" On a faraway human colony, a little girl watched the story on a smuggled screen. She had glowing scars too, from failed alien tests. She saw the human girl in the video, floating, powerful, free. She smiled. "She's one of us." "Back in the freighter?" Roke asked gently. "Where are you going?" E7 stared out the window into deep space. "Somewhere they can't follow," she whispered. "Do you have a name?" She didn't answer at first. Then she said, "I had one. Before they took it, I'll find it again." And so the legend spread. A human girl escaped her lab. She walked through fire. She broke machines with her mind. She faced armies without fear. Now she was in the stars, and no one could stop her. The bounty was the highest in galactic history. 10 million credits. Dead or alive. Target, a human girl. Code name, E7. Threat level, unknown. Possibly unstoppable. The order was sent through. Black channels, hidden networks, and deep systems. Only the most dangerous hunters received it, and only one team accepted the job. Squad Varnix. 5 killers. No names. No fear. No rules. They had captured warlords, burned cities, hunted beasts that tore starships in half. But this time, they were chasing a girl. "She's just one human," said one of them, sharpening his blade. "No," their leader replied. "She's the one the galaxy is afraid of." E7 sat in the cargo bay of Roke's ship. She had been quiet for days. Not because she was tired, but because something inside her was changing again. She could hear things, waves, frequencies, whispers. In the dark, the galaxy was speaking, and she could feel its fear. Roke, the old freighter pilot, watched her from the bridge. He didn't ask questions anymore. He had seen her float through space, survive gunfire, shatter drones. And yet, she still looked like a quiet, lost girl. "Where do you want me to drop you?" he asked. "Somewhere forgotten," she said softly. "Somewhere they won't find me." But it was already too late. Squad Varnix tracked her energy signal to a dead mining planet. No cities, no help, just caves, rocks, and shadows. They landed without sound, moved like ghosts. Each one had weapons designed to kill creatures stronger than steel. They thought it would be a quick hunt. They were wrong. E7 stood on the rocky cliffs, wind blowing her hair. She closed her eyes. She could feel them coming, not just walking, not just moving. She could feel their intent, cold, sharp, focused. They didn't want to speak. They didn't want peace. They came to end her. She opened her eyes and waited. The first bounty hunter jumped from a cliff above, spinning, firing a red energy cannon. E7 moved her hand slightly. The shot curved upward, slammed into the sky, and exploded like fireworks. Before the hunter could land, he was caught mid-air, frozen. His armor cracked. He fell to the rocks, hard and silent. The others spread out. One dropped bombs. Another cloaked himself. One shot from a distance, but it didn't matter. E7 didn't chase them. She didn't hide. She let them come. And she showed them what fear really was. One tried to run. She walked behind him without touching the ground. He turned and screamed, "You're not human." She answered, "I remember what you made me, but I'm more now. And I don't run anymore." His scream was the last thing heard from his comm. Only one was left, Varnix. The leader got. He stood facing her on the mountaintop, weapon aimed. "You don't have to do this," he said. "We were paid to kill you, but I see now you're not a girl. You're a force." "I didn't ask to become this," she said. Varnix lowered his gun. "What are you going to do now?" She looked up at the stars. Show them all what they created. Back in orbit, the galaxy listened again. The bounty was canceled. The hunters were gone. And one message was shared across all frequencies. She let one live to deliver a warning. Now, warships moved carefully. Governments stayed quiet, because no one wanted to be her next enemy. But they all knew. The girl from the lab wasn't hiding anymore. She was just getting started. The galaxy held its breath. War fleets stayed in orbit. Bounty boards went dark. Even the loudest empires went silent. They all waited, watched, whispered, because the girl who escaped the lab was no longer hiding. She had destroyed the unbreakable, defeated the unstoppable. And now she was coming to them, to beg, not for revenge, but for truth. E7 stood aboard a stolen cruiser. She wore no armor. She carried no weapon, but the ship's systems responded to her as if she were a living command. Lights shifted around her. Doors opened. Stars bent slightly at her presence. She set a course for the core assembly, a place where galaxy rulers gathered only in times of great danger. They were waiting. On the capital moon, inside a shining tower, sat the most powerful leaders from 10,000 worlds. Paul reptilian warlords. Insect queens with glimmering wings. Machine minds with glowing eyes. And a few humans in suits, pale with fear. They had all once approved the experiments. They had all voted yes when Earth's people were labeled useful test material. Now they regretted it. E-7 entered alone. No guards. No army. Just a quiet girl with glowing eyes and a voice the galaxy could not ignore. Some leaders stood. Others bowed. A few looked away in shame. Only the High Chancellor spoke. "We regret what was done to you." She looked at him. "No. You regret that I survived." The room went silent. He tried again. "Let us make peace." "Peace?" she asked. She raised her hand slowly, and behind her, a massive screen lit up. It showed files, footage, every experiment, every child, every scream. "You called it research," she said. "I call it history." One human leader stood, shaking. "Please, not all of us knew." She looked at him. "But none of you stopped it." Then she stepped forward, toward the center of the chamber. "I don't want war," she said. Relief spread across the room. "But," she continued, "I also don't want silence. I want change. Real change. And I will be watching." She turned to leave. "And if you ever build another lab like the one I escaped from," the lights flickered. The air trembled. "I won't just destroy it. I'll destroy you." The leaders knelt not by choice, but because gravity shifted around her. Every one of them warlords, politicians, machines fell to their knees. The message was clear. She wasn't a test subject anymore. She was a force. A symbol. A memory that would never fade. Back on Earth, stories spread of a girl who escaped the stars, who faced monsters and kings, who came home with no crown, but with power no one could take. Children who were once afraid of aliens now wore shirts with her image. Old soldiers told stories of the one who walked out of the lab, and in quiet corners of space where experiments still happened. Scientists looked over their shoulders because she was still out there, watching, waiting, and she had not forgiven. The end.